Another sort of opportunistic video, one that I wasn't planning to do, but situation came up and I thought it might be interesting. So I have these two lights over my sort of an island in the kitchen here. I use small halogen bulbs like this. And I'll give you a better look at this down at the bench since the lighting here is terrible. But as you can see, one of them burned out. So I went looking for a replacement. It was really hard to tell what size bulb it was even. It took a bit of I probably spent an hour searching to be somewhat sure I had the right idea for what to get for a replacement. And then I thought, well, let me look and see if there's anything for LED bulbs that's equivalent. I wasn't sure I'd find anything because it is quite a small bulb, and these are 50 watt halogens. So to produce equivalent light from an LED in such a small area, seems like it might be pushing it. But I did find something that was reasonably priced and claims to be equivalent brightness. So I thought I'd give them a shot. They were maybe twice as much, well, not even that much. I think it was about $9 for a pair of the halogens and about $15, $16, something like that for these LED bulbs. And they're a little bit longer, so I hope they're going to fit okay. But anyway, I thought I would try them out, and it occurred to me I have this, you really can't see this, can you? I'll show you all of this stuff again down on the bench, but I have this Banggood light meter, so I thought I could actually do a direct comparison, turn off all the other lights and do a direct comparison of the halogen versus the LED and see if it really is as bright as it claims. So with that in mind, oh, by the way, if you think these are kind of funny looking, this is the trim plate that goes up on the ceiling. They never got put back up after some painting work, so just haven't got around to that. So that's, if it looks funny, that's why. All right, but let me go turn off everything else, and we'll get a measurement of this light on the left, and see how bright that one is as a base. Okay, so I've got the sensor kind of centered underneath the light. This is the existing halogen bulb, and I've got this meter. I have no idea how accurate this thing is, but it was, I don't know, a really cheap thing from Banggood. I'll put a link to it in the description. I have no idea how good this is, as I said, but it should at least give a relative comparison. I get this for kind of trying to figure out how bright I wanted my office to be. So that was kind of what I was working off as just relative comparisons there as well. Anyway, so yeah, this is reading in foot candles. It also was able to read in lux, but I can't get it to stay in that mode for some reason. So whatever, it's in foot candles, and it says about 15.5 foot candles with the halogen. So let me plug in or change this one out for one of the LEDs, and we'll see what that says. Okay, and here's the LED bulb. So we've gone from 15.5 to about 6. Started at 6.4. It's gotten a little bit. It's gone down a little bit. And I'll show you these up close on the bench, but the two bulbs for comparison. It is quite a bit longer, as you can see. It just barely fits in. So it's kind of disappointing, but not too surprising that it isn't as bright. Seemed unlikely that they would be able to get 50 watt equivalent output from this small device. But we'll see how it works. I'm not sure it's actually going to be bright enough for my taste for this particular location, but we'll see. It is also a cooler color temperature. It's not cold. It's a warm temperature, but it is not as warm as the halogen. Okay, as promised, I'm going to take a closer look at these things. I did decide that I'm going to stick with halogen in those two light fixtures. These just weren't bright enough for my use. I do work at that island sometimes in the laptop or read sometimes, so I wanted more light than these could provide. I didn't believe that these were going to be equally bright as they claimed, but I hope they would at least be, the reduction in brightness would not be too bad, and yeah, it just isn't cutting it for me. Also, they're a bit flickery. Not flickery when you look at them, but kind of out of the corner of your eye, you see a little bit of a shimmer, and or if you're kind of scanning your eyes, then you notice that strobe effect. So yeah, and which is not too surprising, because if you look at the size of this thing, we'll look at it closer in a minute, but it's not like you're going to be able to fit a big fat smoothing capacitor into this, so not too surprising. So I don't have any other use for these. This is an extremely rare, I believe this is called a BC15 base. It's a bayonet with dual contacts style in 15 millimeter. This is extremely rare in the U.S. for any kind of bulb. I mean, it took me a while to even identify what it was called and to find bulbs in this style. It's very much like the British common style light bulbs, which I believe have a much bigger base, though, maybe 22 millimeters. I don't know if this style is common in the UK, maybe as a kind of the equivalent of our candelabra style, because we have the larger diameter Edison base here, and then candelabra is like a much smaller version of this, smaller diameter. So I don't know if the like the big British version of this also has this as a small cousin or not. I did live in the UK for a while, but I never saw anything like that. But that was a long time ago. Maybe I did see it and I didn't remember, or maybe they're just not very common. I don't know. But at least in the US, these are super, super rare. So I can't find, I don't have anything else I can plug this into to use. I looked high and low for adapters. I was hoping I'd find something that maybe, this could go into, and then the adapter would go into an Edison base. And I only found the opposite. So something that would let me plug in a candelabra bulb into something that was expecting this, which would be useful to get something better than this perhaps, except that light fixture has such a small space that I couldn't fit the adapter and another bulb in anyway, so that doesn't help me at all. And I looked for sockets that would take this, and I found just one source of it, or one listing, and they were no longer available, out of stock or whatever. So there's nothing really I can do with this other than investigate it, take it apart, and so on. But I'm going to save that for a later time, because I would like to do some measurements on this. And there's really no way I can do that, because as I said, I have no way to hook it up, short of soldering wires to these contacts and putting in the quick test or something. But all that, my soldering iron and all that stuff is away in boxes, and that'd be kind of a pain. So it'll probably be months and months before this bulb resurfaces on the channel. But at some point I'll do measure the actual wattage and do a teardown and at some point. But they're kind of interesting. I mean, I think it's not suitable for my application, but it's really hard to fault them for that, because it's asking a lot to produce the equivalent of 50 watt halogen in such a small space. And even when they're kind of cheating and making it bigger than the original. I've got 612 times 6, 72, 76 LEDs in this. And man, there's just not a lot of space in there. The actual PCB part, the actual internal part, besides this plastic outer casing, is about as thick as my little finger. There's just not a lot of room to put a lot of, there's not a lot of surface area to get enough LEDs on it for brightness. And then as far as that flickering goes, you're just not going to fit a huge amount of, driver circuitry in here. So there's not going to be a big smoothing capacitor or anything. So anyway, let's see what else I can say. One of them, these came as a pack of 2. Here's what they are: Bond Lux, 6 watt. This is BA15D. I thought they were called BC15, but this is maybe BA15D. I guess means double contact. There's another style that has this same base, but only one contact at the bottom. So the way these work is these are the electrical contacts, and this is just mechanical or structural. It's not a contact. There's another style that's kind of more common, like an old flashlight bulb, that has, this is one side of the connection, and there's one contact in the bottom. So this is, as I said, very unusual to us in the U.S. Also notice this one has a lot of goop on it. I'm not sure what's going on there. It almost looks like the kind of stuff you get from battery leakage, but of course this wasn't in anything with a battery. Yeah, and here's the old burned out halogen, and you see this fixture gets pretty hot. You can see it's almost like it's the contacts have kind of melted into the solder there. You see how that's see how this one is domed up and this is kind of convexed. So yeah, interesting. And this bulb, it looks very much like it's a wedge-based bulb that's been adapted by just kind of jamming it into this style of base. because this style of bulb in 12 volt with the wedge base, which is basically this glass continues in a flat piece with contacts folded up on one side and then folded up on the other side. That's a very common style in 12 volt for like garden lighting and whatnot. Sometimes like inside exit signs, I think, and things like that. But it looks like it's kind of sort of been adapted with this strange bayonet dual contact base, which is very odd here. So I'm not sure why the manufacturers of this light chose this style, but that's what they did. And then finally, here's the light meter I was using. Doesn't seem to have a brand name. Nope, it's just light meter, HS1010A, and I got this from Banggood. I'll put a link to this in the description as well. So there you go. Some not quite satisfactory, but hard to blame them LED bulbs. And as I said, look for those, and probably many months from now I'll revisit these with a teardown and see if they conform to their actual 6-watt consumption and so on. So thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this, please like, comment, and subscribe.